The phone is extremely good. Alright, we apologize for the technical delay. You know, whichever country it is, technical delays would always be the reasons. Alright, so we start with the first question again with Mr. Sachit. Sachit, tell us about which school did you go to, what did you study, and did you have the choice to choose your own specializations?
I went to Kedge Business School in Marseille.
Okay.
And my specialization was finance, which I took, and I had a particular interest on this subject. Although I was offered 6 different specializations from Kedge at that point of time. I guess they have more now. And at that time I had, if I remember well, supply chain, maritime, and sports and events management, and finance and marketing management. But I was interested in finance, and that's why I took finance. I had a banking and finance course in bachelor's, so I was particularly interested for this, and that's why I took all this.
All right. And how about you, Amir? Which school and what subjects, and did you have the choice to choose your specializations?
Yeah, well, as I already told that I did my bachelor's in civil engineering, and I wanted to change my field and want to go to international business management. So in India, it was really tough for me to get admission in some school with my background. So I chose France, and in NSIC I had around 7 or 8 options in which I can choose, and I got the admission in international business management.
Oh, okay, that's nice. So the big question of the day, I start with you, Amir.
Okay.
Why did you choose to study in France, and why this program?
Well, the first thing here we have 1-year programs, master programs, and as I told you that I have an experience of 3.5 years, in fact more than 3.5 years. So after this experience, and if I will give 2 years to my studies, then it's better to have it in a year. And the other thing is that here we will get internship with studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how about you, Sachin?
Well, why I selected France, Symbiosis has a direct relationship with Kedge, and my director of my previous college, he offered me if I want to go or not. So he said, if you are interested, we can talk with Kedge, and that's how I came. But apart from that, I was really interested about the fact that after you're finishing your studies, you have an opportunity to work for 2 years. And also now, when I was coming at that point of time, I guess it was 2013, this new rule came that you can have 5-year visa as well.
Exactly.
For the Indians, especially, which at this point of time, if you think about USA and UK, things are not really good there in terms of accepting student and their future prospects. Whereas in France, they are really open. And this is one of the best things which compelled me at that point of time to select France as a place of study.
Strongly in your mind, because as Sachin explained, when he came to study in France, there was a work permit of 2 years. Now it's extendable up to 5 as well, compared to any other country. Alright, so the next question is, why did you choose to study 1-year program? Because France, majorly Europe, is famous for 1-year master's programs.
Yeah, I think it's because when I took bachelor's in India, I had special credits. Like in India, we have percentages, but that can be converted in credits. And here you can do a master 2 directly. You don't need to spend 2 years in your master's. And at the same time of your master's, in this 1 year, you have a chance to do internships, because your modules, the courses, they call it module here sometimes. So these courses close up very fast. You have some extensive classes, and after you finish your classes, your courses, you can go for an internship. So this 1 year would save me from giving so much of time as well as money. At the same time, very important thing for an Indian. If you do a 2-year program in another country like US, you spend quite a bit. But in France, it is an option. You can do a 1-year master directly, 2nd year of masters, which you have only specialized subjects in finance. So I was just studying my finance.
Included in your program as
Exactly.
Okay, that's nice.
Prayag, we have some students who are already asking questions.
Sure.
Of course. We have Mr. Verma who is asking, students who are financially weak and willing to study abroad, what can they do? Is it possible to study in France, or is it difficult?
Okay, so for the students who are financially weak, I would say, studying in Western Europe or probably Europe is a very, very valid reason, because European Union emphasizes especially in the Western Europe, talking about countries like France, Germany, Spain, the education is highly subsidized. Let's say, if I have to give an example, if you want to go for an MBA in a top 20 school in India, the average cost would be close to 15 to 20 lakhs, sometimes even more than that. Compared to France, it would be close to 10 to 12 lakhs. Plus, you have housing subsidies, which is provided by the government of France to all the international students. And you also have various scholarships. So you have Eiffel Scholarship, which subsidizes your education, which subsidizes your housing. Then you have Charpak scholarships. So Diplomeo, in fact, a couple of months ago launched their own scholarship, which is for first 1,000 students, and it is for 50,000 rupees as well. So you have plethora of opportunities for scholarships, plus housing and the tuition subsidies offered by the government of France. I think that answered the question.
Yeah, perfect. We have another one before I let you go back to where we were. What would you suggest, an MSc or an MBA for a person with more than 4 years of experience?
Well, it depends a lot on your profile, which program you want to go for. But to summarize, I would say MBA is more of a general management program and MS is more of a specialization. So usually when you go for an MBA, you study general management and you have your electives where you can choose marketing, finance, as explained by Sachin as well. If you go for MS, it's a specialized course. For example, you can go for MS in international finance or MS in digital marketing, which you generally do not get in a normal MBA. So I would say, Antoine, it depends on the interest of a person, whether he or she wants to specialize in one field. I think the person should go for MS. If the person is not really sure which field to make a career in, general management is a good option.
Maybe I can add a little bit to it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like the basic trend in India is that after your bachelor's, you go for an MBA directly.
Yeah.
But MBA teaches you how to be a manager of a big team, and you cannot expect yourself to be in a big team directly without an experience.
Yeah.
So maybe after 4 years of experience, you can go for an MBA, obviously. But when you come to France, maybe an MS, then again working in France for 3 years and then MBA, because what I see in my company, the people who do MBA right now, they are already managers, then they are doing MBA. So I don't see an MBA guy working in an employee level, they are much higher and then they do the MBA. So maybe more experience for MBA.
There are people who would go with the 10 years of experience for an MS specialization.
Exactly.
Thank you, Sachin. We are joined by two of our Indian students. We are live from Paris with our co-founder, Mr. Antoine Glikman. Until now, we have covered questions about why these students chose to study in France, how was their, the experience in school, what were their subjects, and we will be covering a lot more questions, so stay with us. Next question is for you, Amir, and the question is, do professors in France follow the case studies in class? What is the methodology in class?
The professors do follow this case study thing. And in class generally they teach us from the books, but here we get an exposure and they teach us about from their experience, and most of the professors are around 30 to 40 years. They had experience of 30 to 40 years.
Okay, alright, and how about you, Sachin?
What he would have realized it by now, but when I was in my school, they didn't have any books actually. You have only PPTs and case studies. The professor will teach you out of his experience. Obviously, you can see these things on internet, find books on yourself, by yourself, but they don't have any books to recommend you normally. They recommend you books, but they don't tell you to read this only book. They have their PPTs, and in the end of the project, you don't have only final exams. You have in the class case studies, which you solve in the class with the groups and everything.
Okay.
And that's how it is graded, 50% of the class activity, 50% of the final exam. It's not the same in India, although.
Yeah, it is for sure. Alright, so the next question is asked by one of our Twitter users, and the question is French mandatory to study in France?
We'll start with you.
I will answer this question. If you want to study in France, then French is not a necessary language, but for your daily life, if you want to explore the city, if you want some help after after studying, if you want to improve your day-to-day life, then you need French. And if I talk about Paris, then most of the people here speaks English, so that won't be a problem for.
How about you, Sachin?
For me, I was in Marseille, and Marseille is not a city like Paris, obviously, but it's the second biggest city in France, although. But I would say to work in school with your teams, inside school you wouldn't find any problem with you not speaking in French. But if you really want to live here, you want to find a job for yourself with this time of 1 year which you have in France with your French colleagues, you can definitely develop your French linguistic abilities for sure. Like that's how I developed going around with people. They organize a lot of things in the schools, the BDE, Bureau de Élèves, that's what they call it, Students Union, and they organize a lot of tours, trips, and they give you a buddy basically. This buddy, especially to teach you French, just speak French with him.
Alright, so now here comes the most important question, and the question is, when you landed in France, what was your, the feeling about landing in France, and how was your first day? Explain it in 30 seconds, but how was your first day? You, Ahmed.
I'll start first. When I landed in Marseille directly.
Yeah.
And when I came to the airport, it was a little cold. I came here on 31st of December. That was New Year's Eve, and it was really good. The city was all decorated for Christmas and New Year's, and it was really good. You see good fresh air.
Yeah.
Definitely in metro cities in India, you don't find fresh airs, but here it is very clean, very tidy, and very organized. The first feeling was like. I can still remember that feeling. I cannot describe it in words, but I still have that feeling in mind when I took an exit outside the airport.
And do you miss home?
Obviously, being an Indian, you miss your food, your family, everything. Still, this is the 4th year in France now.
Yeah.
I still miss my family, but that's how life it is. You have to devote some time for yourself, your career, everything.
Listen to that, viewers. Amir, you?
Well, I landed just a few months ago.
Yeah.
And when I landed, same thing happened with me. It was a bit cold for me. Yeah, I landed in March. So after coming here, on the first day I spent with the friend family I am living with, and I went to school also. It was a good experience to see each and everything, and everything was new, so I was feeling so happy.
Oh, okay. All right.
I have other questions.
Please go ahead.
So we'll go very quick on that one. Someone, you'll be able to answer it easily, got an admission at Catch, Marseille campus, and asked what things to look out for when I will arrive in Marseille, what is going to happen, what will be taught to me, and so can you give him a brief answer on what can...
The first day you land in Marseille, the first thing you will notice is that the sky is very blue. And then you have Mediterranean Ocean, so the climate is good, the temperature is good, and it's a very international city. In fact, you look at all of the French towns, most of them are typically French compared to Paris and Marseille. So Marseille is a multicultural city. You find people from all the continents. They speak, a number of languages. If you have already been selected, probably I would suggest you to get in touch with the school associations as such as explained, BDE, and they would probably pick you up from the airport, make you feel homely, and you can directly go to your residence and feel home.
Yeah. Well, what he or she, this person will feel is like when he will come up, he will already have some contacts with the BDE and somebody to pick him up in the airport or Charles, wherever he's landing. They will take him to his place wherever he's staying.
Yeah.
And the first week of your school would be an integration week. First week or second week as well, I don't remember, but first week for sure. And in this first week, you will just be hanging around the city with the school, all of your colleagues, of your classmates, and you will have some activities. Maybe you go out in some close by cities as well to visit. That's what they do in the first week. You don't just go directly for the studies. The French culture is quite make you feel home first, and then you go on with the studies.
Do you have more questions?
Yeah, I have one more, but will you have something specific about scholarship, or do you want me to ask the question?
So, regarding the scholarships, as we have already explained, there are scholarship, and there is Diplomeo scholarship, which is exclusively for Indian students. So there are many scholarships that you can apply for. Right now, we have 1 day left for Chapter scholarship. It ends tomorrow, but we have a couple of months left for Diplomeo.
Normally, you will have a bank account here in France, And with the student account, you can take €1,000 loans without any interest rates. So once you are here, you can apply for that as well. And normally the school will help you in opening an account, and you can take €1,000 for the first 3-4 months. Maybe.
That's pretty useful information. All right, now coming to your school life, did you have international exchange programs in your school, and did you go for any of those exchange programs or study trips?
I was in finance, so my program was all based in Marseille. So I was not traveling, and this was only based on China and different perspectives of China. We had a professor who was well experienced about the culture, knowledge, everything about China, and we were all day with him for next 5 days, the whole week, and we had this international seminar. And now I guess at that time it was not a compulsion to go for one session abroad. But now for the international students in KEJ, I've heard of it that you have to go for 2 weeks or one seminar you have to attend outside KEJ in another university. Now they have it. I'm sure they have it. I've heard of it.
Okay, and how about you, Amin?
Well, in my school, students they have international exchange programs, and in fact in my class we have students who are here for their semester, and for the studies. I think, what was your question? Sorry, can you repeat it?
Did you have international exchange programs in your school and study trips?
Yes, study trips. There are study trips. In fact, I am going next week for a study trip with my colleagues.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
What is the average? We have close to 40 to 50 students, I think, in the class.
In my BCom, we had
128 students in a single class.
In the single class, plus 6 sections of the same year.
That's huge.
That's huge.
How about France? How many students do you have, and how many nationalities do you have?
In mine, I had around 35, I guess, plus minus 5. And about nationalities, I guess we had a lot of different nationalities. If I say 35, I'm sure there will be at least 11 or 12 different nationalities.
And how many Indian students?
In my class, I was with six, I guess, 6 or 7, if I remember well. 7, I guess, 7 Indians we were there. Around same number of Chinese students, and then lots of different nationalities.
Okay, and how about you, Amir?
In my school, we have bit low numbers of students than his. It's between 10 to 20. And if I talk about my class, we have 20 students, and out of which 6 are Indians, and we have 12 nationalities in 20 students.
Okay.
So you always find Indians in your class. You can speak in Hindi if you want sometime, you know.
Country of different
languages. Even if you are from India, you don't speak the same languages. True.
Yeah, that's true.
Arun, would you want to ask something to?
There's another question popping up.
What is your best souvenir of your studies in France? What you have to?
Would you like to answer? For me,
for you, because
I have
it's not over for him.
Yeah, my best souvenir was the city of Marseille and the friends I made there. And obviously, what you said, when you enter the Marseille city, you enjoy the blue sky, and that's really something which I miss in India because of the pollution and other things. But here the sky is really extremely blue.
Exactly.
And the blue sea is something really which I will take it to the end of my life, what I experienced in Marseille for sure. That's a good souvenir for me.
Thank you for that. So the next question is about your professors. This question was sent by a student on our website. And the question is, how are your professors in your school, and did you have international faculty? Same goes for you, Amir. International faculty, and how are the professors?
Most of the professors are from different countries, as we have different subjects. So for Chinese market, for example, for instance, as we have a Chinese market subject, so for that we have a Chinese teacher. For Japanese market, we have a Japanese teacher. It's like this.
Okay.
And the professors are really good with us, and they are always ready to help us in everything.
Okay.
For me, when I was there, we had different people, different professors with different nationality, and even the French professors we had, I remember well, they had traveled a lot, and mostly some of the professors were actually who were working, and they really shared their experience with us. If I remember well, there was a professor who was working as a director in Societe Generale in the finance team. So I had finance subject, so he was really good in his subject, and they all speak good English, obviously. That goes without saying. And it was quite a mix, even in the professors, not only in the students, but even in the professors, there was different nationalities. They speak about their culture, their experiences, which is very important. Not only the book, what they, the PPTs, but their experience they share.
Exactly. So just to remind all of our viewers, all the programs, international programs in French business, engineering, science, art, design, fashion schools are completely in English because they are focused on international students. So you have students from more than 50 nationalities. France, in fact, has more than 170 nationalities coming to study here. So the subjects, accent could be sometimes a little bit of problem. You'll have Spanish accent, you'll have Mexican accent, sometimes you'll even have an Indian accent, but the programs will be in English. Moving ahead,
let's remind who you are, maybe for people joining us right now.
Oh yes, so for all those people who joined late, we are joined by two of our Indian students who come from India and studied in France. One of them is in fact still studying in Paris in SEC Business School. And moving ahead, we have one more question from our Twitter user, and the question is, are the French schools at par with Indian schools, and is there any difference between Indian and French education system?
Would you like to say something?
Both education system means in India we have a different education system and in France we have a different one. Here we generally focus mainly, in my case, as I'm experiencing right now, they generally focus on their experience, means they teach us from their experience. They don't just focus on the PPT or just for the knowledge from the books. Yeah.
They share their experience. That's what
generally they share their experience.
Yeah, for me, I guess when I was in bachelor's, we had our books. For the bachelor's, all my BCom studies 3 years, we had books, and we were studying that book, and that's your Bible. That's it. But when I came for master's, we didn't have any books, no more books, only EPDFs. EPDFs. Big difference is that you're continuously evaluated. You don't have just one final exam to give and finish it off. In India, we have this system that at the year end, we have a final exam and we have a midterm exam, and that's it. But here, you have 50% weightage of your class attendance. The class, even the 80% is your class activities, which is really good. Like if you mess up your final exam, you don't have to worry.
I think we have some more questions on Facebook Live.
Yeah, we have one regarding GMAT score.
Okay.
Maybe you want to answer about the person here is Saurabh Kumar, and he wants to know if with the GMAT score of 600, does he have a chance to get into the best business school in France?
Well, I think it's a top business schools in the world, but when it comes to France, most of these business schools in France, they rely, they judge your profile by the quality of work experience that you have had, the quality of academics that you have had. GMAT is just a part of your application process. Unlike India, where you take CAT and you are technically eligible for all the IIMs or probably top schools in the country, here in France, you take GMAT or probably GRE, it's a part of your application, which contributes to 20 to 25%. The rest of the focus on your application is dependent on the fact of your statement of purpose, your letters of recommendation, your academics, your application, your resume, and your interest, including extracurricular activities. So having a GMAT is not a mandatory thing to get into top business schools in France, but if you have a GMAT, it's good for some waivers, some discounts maybe. Talking about the top schools, NCR, HEC, ESSEC, these are the top three, or probably let's say including EM Lyon, these are the top 4 schools in France which would require GMAT for sure, but for most of them it depends on the program. So if you're applying for full-time MBA, it may or may not be a requirement. For MS, MSCs, MIMs, it's certainly not a requirement for sure.
Also, it depends on your personal professional project. That's what they ask you in every interview. That's very important for Indian students. When they asked me professional project, I didn't really understand it that time what exactly it means, but it basically means what do you want to do professionally after this course. And as Prayag just said, it counts, but it is not the only thing. And what is your career objectives and how well you have tried before to achieve it, that is what works here while getting admitted to a French college.
Alright, I think that answered the GMAT question. I would like to highlight a fact that France is a French-speaking country, although all the programs are in English. So IELTS and TOEFL are not, I would say, mandatory thing to have unless until you went to an English medium school. English is obviously the official language of India. There is no national language in India. Most of an English-speaking country, and if you went to an English medium school, you're working in English, your IELTS or TOEFL scores would not be required to get into a top business or fashion school in France.
We have another question regarding jobs.
Okay.
And job opportunities for Indians.
Alright, so job opportunities rely on a fact. When it comes to the post-study work permit, I would say France is the best country for Indian students. Once you graduate, you have a 2-year job seeker visa, which is not there in UK, which is completely less compared to US or other countries. So yes, you can stay here in France and look for a job for 24 months. Once you have a job, you can apply for a passport talent visa, which is for 4 years. Once you graduate with a master's or PhD in France, you can apply for a business visa for your spouse and your children as well. But when it comes to the job opportunities, I think all of the business schools and fashion engineering schools, they have career student service centers. Just like the TNP cells, training and placement cells in India, which assist a lot in finding the jobs. They organize campus fairs, they send you regular job updates. LinkedIn is proactively used in France. They have a job teaser website which is dedicated to each and every school. So you have hundreds of, I would say, sources to find a job, and schools really assist in finding a job for you. I think that stays true with Sachet as well, because Sachet is right now working. So Sachet, if you are able to explain.
Yeah, like in KEJ, I will talk about KEJ because I was in KEJ. They have a job board, which normally all schools have. And normally the companies, they already have a bit good understanding about the schools, their course structure and the capabilities of the students. So they directly post their requirement of, they post the profile directly in these sites. And my internships which I did was from these sites.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't have to go to the other websites like Monster and other things. So I got my internships which I did from the job board of KEJ. And similarly, all the other schools have this. Apart from the placements they organize, they have the company, and you can just go to the company and give your small interview there, explain your obligation here, like you have to get, in India we have this obligation, like you have to get 60%, 70%.
No,
there's nothing like that. Everybody has their own reasons if they get good marks or bad marks. If sometimes you have not well and you miss your exams or something.
Exactly.
And that does not mean you're not capable of getting a job. But here, I remember in my KEJ, almost everybody who passed out from KEJ, almost everyone got the job.
Okay. So, thank you, Sachet, for that. There's a question which popped up just now, and it's regarding the work experience. Most of the Indian students, they keep us asking the question that whether work experience is required to get into a B school or probably any school in France and then find a job. I'll give you an example. When I was in my business school, I had close to 5 and joined the same school, studied the same program. Right now he's working in a full-time job in Dubai with a French company. So work experience depends on the quality of work that you have done. In fact, not on the quantity of years. Number one. Number two, it also depends on the subjects you studied diligently. As Sachet explained, it's not about your marks, how many marks did you score. It's about the quality of education that you have had and the skills that you have had. Do we have any other questions on social media? Alright, okay, so next question for you, Amir, is you're a student right now among all of us. So do you have student benefits in France? Tell us something about various student benefits, if you get any, regarding discounts and travel, everything.
We have a lot of discounts over here. If you like, for me, I am staying here, so I get CAF, which is housing assistance.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that for traveling, we have got insurance card, which are really cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you go to some restaurants and all, means everywhere we get a discount from our student ID card.
So you just have to carry your student ID and you get discounts everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. We can get.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so now moving ahead to...
I have a question which is interesting. Someone is asking regarding campus recruitment. Do you think, regarding your experiences, that you can rely...
Thank you, Antoine.
It's a question of Saurabh Kumar.
It's a very important question for most of the Indians. So thank you, Saurabh, for asking. In India, and campus placement is a different concept everywhere else in the world, including France. So when it comes to India, you know that companies come and they take a written test and group discussions happen and then they interview you and then probably they offer you the job as well on the same day. That happened with me like 10 years ago, 7 years ago, I think. But in France, what happens is the career student service centers, which are also known as placement cells, they organize job fairs and they organize campus fairs where all top companies would be visiting your campus. In our school, I think the companies like Amazon, CMA, CGM, BNP Paribas, these kind of big Deloitte Consulting, these kind of big companies who visit your campus, they have a discussion with you. They take your resume and they go back to their offices, have a look at your resume in details, and if they like your profile, they would probably invite you for an interview. So this is how it works in France, unlike in India.
Plus, like sometimes students are hired before even the companies, different companies. I would say minimum I have seen is like 80 companies or 50 companies coming to this big halls. They sit there, they wait for the people like students.
Exactly.
Somebody is looking for a job, you can go there, deposit their CV, talk to them, and that's how. If they have your CV, you have the required talent, you will get hired for sure. The one thing is important here is that when you're looking for a job, make sure that you have at least basic level of French, because although they work by a multinational company, they work in English, they do everything in English, but to communicate sometimes they do use French. So by this time, which I say the first 1 year you have, you can develop your French in 6-7 months so that you are prepared for the interviews. Many of the students got hired before the companies came to campus.
So students, that's a good point. Right now it's May, you still have June, July, August and September, so 4 months to probably you can start learning on YouTube on your own through PDFs, and once you come here in France, the school would be assisting you to learn French. Most of the schools, they do not even charge. For example, such a school, Kedge Business School, they did not even charge.
I guess in all the big business schools, it's free. I guess.
Yeah, most of the schools offer French classes for free, as I am also getting the French classes.
It's free.
Okay,
it's free of cost.
Right. So that's a good news for all of you. We have one question from a Twitter user, and the question is: describe your school in 3 words.
Well, first you
3 words is the 3 words from Kedge, I guess: create, share, care.
Okay.
That's the logo of Kedge as well.
Alright.
And what they mean is like we create some knowledge here, we share it among each other, and we care about the whole community as a whole.
So create, share, care.
Yeah, so I can use this platform to promote these 3 words again here.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. How about
for me here, if I describe my school, it is very good, fun, and the education system is good, and if I will say that my school is best for Indians, because we have a lot of Indian students in my school, and you can get that culture too if you wish to.
So you said we have already a competition. Indians are always about competition.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So
don't worry.
You already explained you studied in Marseille, you studied in Paris. Now, very, I would say, household kind of question asked by one of our Indian students: do you have Indian food available in your cities, Indian stores, and do you have Indians in your city?
Wow.
Yes, a lot of Indians.
A lot of Indians, yeah.
How about the food and stores?
Food and store is easily available.
You live in Paris.
Yeah.
Let's forget this question. How about you, Sachin? You lived in Marseille. How about the Asian food? Do you get the typical?
I'll tell you the answer in facts and figures, because I stayed in 2 years. There are around 16 or 18 restaurants, Indian restaurants in Marseille.
16 or 18?
Yeah. And that's huge, because it might be less for an Indian to think only 16 restaurants, but you know, in city like Marseille, even 16 restaurants is not less. Plus, about the food, you can get everything from your flour to some vegetable if you need.
Do you get dal chawal in France?
Yes, you do get. Like I cook. Yeah.
So just bring your mango pickles and you'll have everything else here in
No, even mango pickle is available.
Don't worry anything. Yeah. Alright, so next question is an important question asked by a student from India. Many students are keen on part-time jobs. Is it easy to find a part-time job, and is it recommended for a short-term program? Because France offers
for a short-term program, for me, I don't recommend a student to get a part-time job, because we just have around 6 to 8 months for studies. After that, for sure, you are getting an internship.
Okay.
So it's better not to do an internship, not to get a part-time job. Sorry. So, but if you want to do, then you can get it easily.
Okay, and such a
well, I would say that depends on the person and his requirements. But if you are really focusing on a internship, must take loans in India, and we are always in pressure of paying back and what to do. But don't succumb to this pressure. What you can do is focus on your study for the time being, and you start applying in advance for your internship. You find an internship, and definitely with the internship amount you can save also with the internship amount. I did that, that's why I'm saying that. You can save with your internship stipend and you can start bringing back. Don't worry about the money, and with this time, if you have time every day and you think you want to do a part-time job, I would recommend you start learning French.
Okay.
That is, you see, you profit a lot from this rather than going for a part-time job. Maybe.
Thank you.
That's my opinion.
We have a new question from Shashi Bhardwaj. According to your life here, do you think it's possible for an Indian student to take a loan in a French bank or not?
Okay, so first of all, before answering the questions, I would say that anyone who has joined recently, please go back to, just to answer this question, if you're looking for a student loan with a French bank account in France, I think you would need a French guarantor. So if you have somebody already working from your family or your friends or relatives who's already working in France and is ready to sponsor you, it's very easy. But most of the French schools, they're very smart, they already have tie-ups in India. For example, there is a school based in Rennes, which is 2 hours from Paris, and they have a tie-up with Central Bank of India. So with that admission letter, you can directly go to Central Bank of India and take a loan. Similarly, you have other schools who have already tied up with different banks in India.
I got a loan from CBI in India in 3 days.
However, I would like to highlight the fact that most of the, I would say, master's programs in France are really, really inexpensive, thanks to the government subsidy. And the average cost is close to 10 to 11 lakhs. The living accommodation would be close to 5 lakhs additional, but as explained by our students, you will be getting CAF, which is housing, master's degree, and probably work here post your graduation. Moving ahead, now let's move to your application process. How was your application process, Amir? Because you just came 4 months ago, I think. How was your application process? How long it takes to get the visa finally?
Well, I searched for some consultancies on the Google, and I came through a link named Diplomeo. I applied through Diplomeo in 2-3 colleges, and but I chose INSEAD because for me I was getting whatever I was looking for there. And next part of the question, if you apply for the if you fill a form, means if you apply for INSEAD, you will get a reply immediately within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, but the application, they they look at your profile and they generally answer you in 15 days to have a Skype or telephonic interview.
So usually 2 weeks.
Generally 2 weeks.
And how long did it take for the visa for you?
Visa, I think just 5 days. I applied on Monday, and I got a call that my visa is applied on Thursday.
4 days technically.
4 days.
How about you, Sachin?
Admission, I think it is a long time. It was in 2013 when I applied, so I don't remember well. But I remember that it was quite quick because we had a direct contact with Ketch, Hans Marie Sanchez. People who are joining now will have the same contact, I guess. And for the admission, everything was clear in like the whole thing. If I say the interview with Hans and another course coordinator, and for the visa thing, if you're asking me, it took me again 3 days. 3 or 4 days. It's quick in India. You can track your application online actually. I remember well, now they have a more advanced system, I'm not sure, but that time you can track your visa and it says where is it right now, approved, and then you get a call.
I think it's still there.
Generally they said that thing also, but addition you get messages.
Exactly, you get an SMS, okay, your visa is with embassy, it has been approved, please collect it. Yeah, it's quite quick.
We have a Twitter question, and that is for you, Antoine. And
I'll try to answer them.
Okay, so the student wants to know about the concept of grande écoles, and how prestigious are these écoles, and why someone from a country like India or probably Asia should choose to study in these écoles compared to other business schools around the world.
Alright, so first, grandes écoles in France are different than public education and universities. They are much more professionalized, and they offer you opportunities to have internship inside companies, and then after directly apply what you learned during your internships, during your first jobs. These grandes écoles, most of them are at least double accredited, and some of them triple accredited. Prayag, all the accreditation. I don't know if you plan to speak about it later on, but all French grandes écoles are at least double accredited, and for some of them triple accredited. So regarding the ranking worldwide, these schools, they have nothing to be afraid from other schools which are abroad. Plus, when you look at some of the rankings, some of the top French business schools are really at the top of these rankings. So I think, Prayag, these grandes écoles are a good choice and a good alternative to other schools which sometimes are expensive, and for the same quality, or at least the same quality education, you have another kind of education, which is a French education, a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
So grandes écoles should be really considered if you want to study abroad, and even if it's in France, have an international exposition.
Okay, thank you so much, Antoine, for that detailed reply, and you highlighted a very, very valid point, which was accreditations. I'll tell you something about triple accreditations. Now, there are business school accreditations and fashion school accreditations. Just like in India, you have AICTE. These are top 3 triple accreditations around the world. When you look at triple 70 of them, I'm so sorry, and out of those 70 triple accredited schools, France has the second highest number of triple accredited schools. Reason why you should always go for a triple accredited school is that your degree is accepted globally. For example, if it is not AMB accredited, you may or may not have problems going to work in Commonwealth countries. Similarly, if your degree is not EQUIS accredited, you may have had problems, or you may or may not have problems to work, to find an employment in Europe. So it's always recommended to go for a triple accredited. It is a triple accredited school. Other top triple accredited schools in France would be, I think, EM Lyon, Toulouse Business School, Audencia Business School. So we have the entire list already available on the website. You can probably go and directly check. Moving ahead, do we have any questions on social media popping up? Because I have a question.
You go for it. Go for it.
All right. So the question is, what is your average monthly expense during your studies apart from fees? Your food, your travel, your shopping, your movies, everything. Average expense.
Average expense, I would say, will be around 600 euros. Because for the rent, you generally have to pay 400. But after, as I told previously, that we get a refund from the government. So you will get around 150 euros in back.
Okay. How about you, Sachin?
I was not about 600 because I was in Marseille.
Yeah.
It's much more cheaper than Paris. Obviously, Paris is Paris. You pay for Paris. So mine was less because I paid. My rent was 200 something, 280, I guess. Out of which there was scarf. Again, you can reduce 100 euros. And the food, I am a vegetarian guy, so I cook normally. I don't prefer to eat out. And it was not more than 60 euros a month for the food.
Okay.
So, and the bus pass, the travel, I paid 35 euros. And for the students, it is 17 euros.
17 euros.
So you see, for the student, I think it's the best place to study in France is because you're a student and you get lots of benefits. You go everywhere, you show your student card, you have a benefit. That's all you need to do.
Thank you for your answer. We have a couple of questions on social media popping up. Roni Pratap Yadav asks, what about the admission process into Sciences Po Masters in International Studies? Sciences Po is a very, very elite university, Roni. So for this year, if you want to apply for next year, you need to have very, very high academics. Probably close to 80% if you want to make it to Sciences Po. You need to have a GMAT. If you don't have a GMAT, then probably you need to have very, very good academics, as I said. And then you need to have a work experience, quality of work experience as well, close to 3 to 4 years. Then you need to have an IELTS score, which should be minimum 6.5. So if you have all these things with your profile, I think you are eligible.
Is IELTS compulsory for all schools or not?
As I think we already explained earlier, it's not compulsory because if you come from English medium schools, France is a French-speaking country. Although the programs are in English, jobs probably would be in English, would be bilingual, but it will be minimum 5.5 or 6 for most of the business schools in France.
I'll tell you how it works. You can vouch for me. When you fill the online form, normally for all the colleges, they ask you your studies, your bachelor's, master's in English. Just provide the transcript and you can escape this.
Simple. So save money.
Normally all the schools have this quotations just below your IELTS score where they demand. If you have done your education in English, you don't need to provide it. That's how it works.
So you just saved 9,000 rupees.
Yes.
We have a question from
12,000 rupees.
12,000.
I'm not really sure. France doesn't require IELTS. We have one more question from Rajat God. Minimum graduation percentage. There is a minimum. You need to be a successful graduate in your. I think we are good, and we have tried to answer all the questions. Wrapping up quickly, we would have one cliche question coming from Diplomeo. And the question is, I think it's for all of the three guests that I have with me, starting with Sachin. If studying in France were a cliche, what would it be? French fries, a French kiss, or French manicure, and why?
It's a difficult question. I guess the French fries, because they don't call it French fries here anymore. It's called frit. That's it.
It's called frit.
It's not a French kiss is there, I guess, but I'm not sure. It's called French kiss in French. I'm not sure about it.
Okay.
But French fries for sure, because I tell everywhere here, in India we call it French fries. It's like, but why French fries? I don't know. We call it French fries.
All right. Valid reason. How about you, Amin?
Same answer.
French fries.
Yeah, that's a diplomatic answer. Yeah. Okay, if I ask you not to answer the same answer, then
well, I had the same thing in mind. When you ask the question, this is like the French fries.
Okay, perfect.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. How about you, Antoine?
Oh, that's complicated. For me, because I'm French, the most typical thing is French kiss.
French kiss. Okay.
I have another questions for you guys.
Sure.
You are here for. It has been very little time you're here. You're longer. Do you plan to study French or not? Or are you currently studying it? And
yeah, well, I'm currently studying because I have planned to stay here after my graduation.
Okay.
And I will. That will be helpful for me.
All right.
Yeah.
For me, in a very long term, maybe I'll shift to other countries because I like to travel a lot. I don't see myself settling in one country forever. That's my personal thing. But although I will have access to 2 years of APS and 5 years of visa, I have like 7 years. I can stay here in this country, not a problem. And hopefully, with this job, I can stay for a long time as I want. But maybe yes, maybe no. I won't say yes. Just
you're able to speak in the street now.
Not even in the street, in my office, I have to speak in French,
Right,
so when you speak French, then you feel more comfortable and the willingness to stay more comes more, obviously.
Alright, thank you. Thank you so much. So we tried to answer all the questions. We were running out of time. We are already 2 minutes beyond the time, so we tried to answer all the questions popping up from social media, from our website. Finally, I would like Antoine to wrap up and give you a message. So Antoine, your final message to all the Indian students who want.
Don't hesitate. Please let us know. Contact Study in France and Diplomeo so we can help you during the process, giving you piece of advices for schools regarding admissions, regarding scholarships, regarding schools, regarding programs. Don't hesitate. France has ton of opportunities for its international students. You will find here things you won't be able to see in other countries. You will find more opportunities, and so we hope to have a lot of questions from all of you after this live. Thank you a lot for having watched us.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.